Hi, and welcome to Los Androides. Today we have Joe Birch, speaker, educator, and Google developer expert in Android. Senior and Android engineer too. Later he'll explain what is this about at Buffer, and also author of the book Practical Jetpack Compose. But better if he tells us more. Welcome, Joe. Who are you, and what's your background?
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. Yeah, my name's Joe. I'm an Android engineer and have been since, I want to say 2012, maybe 2012, 2013. And yeah, I've done Android my whole career. That's what I focused on. And yeah, I love working with mobile. That's pretty much my thing.
Very well. Well, we can start from the very beginning. From the very beginning, what were you like as a child?
Yeah, what's it like as a child? God, I was definitely well, I'm introverted now. I'm a quiet guy now, but like when I was a child, I was very kept myself to myself. Was very quiet. Had a few friends, but yeah, was kind of just kept myself to myself. Heads down at school. Loved studying. I loved food. That's the one thing my parents always say is that I used to eat a lot, and I used to eat everything they gave me. So that was my thing I was good at. I don't know, but yeah, that was kind of it. Was into studying and and I think that's where a lot of my things come from now. I still enjoy learning things, and yeah, that's kind of always been that way. Um, but yeah, I think I was never really into sports as a kid. I tried all my friends were into football, and I really wanted to be into football because all my friends were, and I was useless. I could barely like kick the ball properly. I couldn't really pass. I used to score own goals all the time. So I decided. I remember one when we had this football game at school. I scored 3 own goals, and that was the point where I gave up trying to be good at sport. And yeah, that was the point. So I decided to stick to academics, and yeah, realized sport wasn't for me.
Now, what is a normal day for you?
So yeah, my days are all pretty structured to be honest. I have a dog, so that helps. I wake up at the moment. I'm waking up so early and not by choice. I keep waking up like about 4 or 5 every day because it's getting lighter here. So I wake up. My dog wants feeding, so I feed her. We go out for a walk. Oh, should have said that word because now she's going to be like, "What?" So we go out for that, and then my work day is kind of like nine to five most days. There's like one day a week where I have a meeting till 6 with someone in the States. But my working day is very structured, and I think that really helps me because I like to have my mornings and my evenings free for my own things, and like if I want to see friends or spend time with my dog, I know I have that time free. So my work day is very structured, and I think that's always something that people, I guess, being like a lot of us are remote now, but like working remotely and especially being at a company that does have a lot of flexibility, to have such a rigid structure it seems like sometimes a bit people sometimes question that, but it works for me. So yeah, I really enjoy having that structure. But yeah, before work, like in the mornings, after I've been out the door, I tend to do some like writing or side projects, just to like make use of the day, just like an hour, and then I'll do the same after work as well in the evenings. Um, and then I am guilty that for like 2 hours a day in my evenings, I'll just play PlayStation, literally like every day without fail. So um, it's I know every day sometimes it's a bit much, but like it's just a switch off. Like it's nothing to do with work, it's nothing to do with code. I just get to be social, chat to some friends online, and just play a bit of games. So yeah, that's my Monday to Friday is pretty much like that. It's like the same every day. So yeah.
You are one of the most well-known Android developers in the world. And who are your role models?
Uh, that's a good one. Oh, that's a really good one. I think growing up, it's really tricky because I don't really have role models that are like specifically like programmers and stuff like that. I have role models who do. I guess I'm going to be like really generic, and like my dad was a big role model for me growing up. Just like the way he approached things, and um, he is an electrical engineer, so I get a lot of like the hands-on practical thing. Like I get a lot of that from him, and I was always really fascinated by the things he did. And he always had a really good work ethic. Like he worked hard, but he always made time for things outside of work. So I always try to like keep him in mind when I'm trying to like balance my own life. And then outside of the really generic parent one, my mum's going to watch this and be like, "Wait a minute, what about me?" But I had some other for example, there's a charity that I closely followed when I was in my late teens and in even recent years called Sea Shepherd, and like the founder of that, Paul Watson, he was a big role model of mine for a while, because just of the things he does around the things Sea Shepherd does around like ocean conservation. I really love the work they do and how they do it. They're very very practical, very hands-on, and just like get stuff done. And that's the way I try to do things. Like I don't like sitting on stuff too much and just try and be really proactive. So yeah, that was really good, a really good one for me. But yeah, if you haven't heard of Sea Shepherd, like be sure to check them out. They do a lot of cool work.
Amazing. I have one question from Carlos. Carlos is a collaborator of the community of Los Androides, Carlos Muñoz. And he told me exactly this for asking to you. How Buffer works with their projects? Do you have implemented any strategy to work with your colleagues? This because it's well known, Buffer is a remote-first company, so I am interested in how this is managed inside of the Buffer company. If you can tell.
Yeah, I can try. So it sounds like this is more just about how we work again, like on our project being a remote company and not having like face-to-face time. I think. So yeah, I mean, it works because I remember thinking this before I joined, because I joined back in 2016, and I remember I'd always worked in an office, and I was like, how is this going to work? Like how am I going to get stuff done and that? But I think for me, like I mainly work in the mobile team, and we're a very small team. And we're also at the point now where we're very senior, so we're able to be very independent, but while also still working like as a team. So we have our cycle kickoffs, like so that cycle's like a 2-week sprint essentially. We have our meetings at the start of each cycle to like lay down our plans and stuff, and then throughout that cycle we'll keep like obviously we're keeping close communication, and we use like a lot of basic tools such as Slack to like communicate throughout the cycle of the project. But we're able to, because we've set out our plans, we have the experience, and we're able to work independently. We're able to go through that cycle and do our work while also keeping tight knit. I'm not sure that answers that. I feel like I'm going off track there a bit, but yeah, I think like my main thing here is like when I said before I joined, I think I was overthinking it, and really like once you're in there, once your project's planned out, like you're not over planning and stuff. Like I think it's all quite seamless and it all works. Being in an office, being remote, it didn't really make any difference. Apart from obviously for me being remote, like I feel like I could get more done and I had a bit more freedom. And there is communication there in Slack, but it's not constant. It's like regular check-ins maybe, or daily check-ins, but it's not like constant things throughout the day. And I think one key thing there for me was, especially when I joined, was realize is like being able to unblock myself and being able to like, there's going to be stuff you get stuck on, there's going to be stuff you get blocked on, something's not available, and being able to like shift gears and be like, okay, I can't do this thing, so what else can I do? And making sure that you're able to do that and like keep yourself flowing for a project. And I think that, that sounds like an obvious thing you would do, but it's different from, when you're sitting at a computer and you're not in an office and there's no one around you, like that takes a bit more to do that, as opposed to, when you're literally sitting next to someone you can chat to about it. So yeah, it's just a little bit of a different shift, but yeah, it's, I would say not to overthink that side of things.
Very well. He has an additional question very related, and he is, any tips for Buffer job interview?
I think it depends. Well, it doesn't actually. Maybe it doesn't depend what stage. I think like just be yourself, be authentic, and bring your true self there. And again, it's like, I would say not to overthink it. If you show up as your true self, then I think that's in itself is going to give you a lot of success. We could go into the fine grained things such as like technical interviews and stuff like that, but I think that varies depending on what role you're going for. On the Android side, it's very like current, and we're not gonna start asking you to do whiteboard exercises and so on. But again, like especially on the technical side, anyway, we're very to keep things simple. We don't like to overcomplicate things, especially like I can speak for on the Android side. Like we use a lot of like stock like things from Google. We don't use a huge amount of like third-party dependencies for like navigation and so on. We don't touch a lot of that stuff. So I think being able to keep things simple allows us to move quickly while also not breaking stuff. So I think that's stuff that we would definitely be looking for on the Android side. But yeah, that's what I'd say on that front.
And also to finalize the question, this is like a postdata from Carlos Muñoz, is thanks for helping me with your Jetpack Compose course. I don't know what is this about, but he told me.
Nice.
Okay. We can come back with maybe the past about challenges. What has been your biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge in life or technically?
That's a good question. I didn't specify. More about programming, but whatever we want.
Yeah, we can go for it. We can stick it to programming.
Yes. I didn't specify. Sorry.
Yeah, I think for me it's like probably more. I think not so much on the programming side. 'Cause I think I'm at the point. Obviously, there's still stuff I need to learn. I don't know everything, but I feel like, especially in the last few years, like a Buffer, I've been a lot more involved about API, like our standardization, different tooling that's like used across the engineering organization. And I feel like I'm at the point now where I can pick stuff up, and obviously there's still a challenge, but I don't see that as a bad. I don't know the word. I don't see that as a bad thing, because it's like programming is always full of challenges. The thing for me is more around, I think, the leadership side of things, and like speaking up and like bringing things to the table. Naturally, I'm quite introverted, so I like to keep myself to myself. Obviously, it's like big stuff I'll speak, but like leading stuff, I've always shied away from, because I don't like to be the center of attention. I don't like eyes on me. So like trying to change that is what I think has been the biggest challenge for me. And it's not like I'm trying to change myself from an introvert to an extrovert, because that's not going to happen. That's like, it's how I'm wired. But training myself to like be able to speak up and be able to lead things while still being an introvert, like, and try to look at it from a different angle, is, I would say, has been the biggest challenge for me, just because it goes against how I'm used to operating. So yeah, I would say that's the biggest challenge, and that's not directly programming, but it's still kind of related. And I think like in our industry, like I've met and I know a lot of people who are introverts, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's a common thing. And I think it just, with anything, it just takes a few times of you like sticking yourself out there and doing it, and then being like, oh, this went okay, so, and trying it again, and keep going.
Well, and what has been your biggest achievement? And about programming, about work, or about whatever you want.
I think this is, some of my friends might watch this and be like, oh, you started talking about this. But probably I built a project called Kotlin several years ago, which was a guitar for it was an accessible guitar for blind, mute, and deaf people. And I even though I shipped that like 4 or 5 years ago, for me that's probably like the biggest and most important thing that I've worked on, like personally, like in my personal life. Obviously work's different, but for me that was such a big thing, because having it so like closely related to things in my family, it meant a lot to be able to build that and put it out there, even though it's not like shipped as a real product. It was still really cool. So that, yeah, and the fact that I didn't know what I was doing of half the project, like I don't know electronics, I don't know how to program Raspberry Pis, but I think being able to do something in that realm when it is completely new to you, I think yeah, that meant a lot to me. So that's definitely up there for me.
Okay, an interpessive topic. Do you think content creation for programmers is a good thing to do?
I think this is one of those things where it depends, and I think I'll say it depends because like it depends how you want to look at it. Like I think it's good I think some kind of content creation is good for everyone, as long as it interests you, because you know, if you're writing blog posts, you're making videos, or you're doing talks, I think it helps your communication skills in terms of like being able to put something out onto paper, digital paper, or being able to explain stuff, because you know, people give you feedback. You'll give a talk and you'll be like, oh, I didn't explain that quite well, so next time you'll change it. And I think from that perspective, I think it's good for everyone. I'm not saying you have to do it every month, but like to do some stuff, I think it's helpful, even if it's internally to your company. That's still like, you're still creating content, you're just not releasing it to the world. So yeah, I think for everyone, some level's good. I think if you, obviously, as you get, like in the Android community, for example, there's a lot of people who are like quite heavily involved in the community. Some people just do it for fun. Some people do it, they're freelance, they get business from it. And some people do it like, I've always done community work, but since I've started like selling books and stuff, having that community there to support me has been, you know, if I hadn't done the community work before, then I probably wouldn't have had as much reach with the products that I was selling. Obviously, that's not why I do the community stuff, because I've done it for years, but there's also that angle, like some people could use it as a business motive, which we see a lot on like, you know, like TikTok and Instagram. We see it, there's a lot now of like programming related creators coming up with like reels and videos, who then like link back to courses. So there's different reasons why you could do it, but yeah, I think the short answer is for everyone, like some kind of content creation is helpful.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, about I don't know if to say content creation because it is a real very good content. You have a book called more than it's more than content creation, but well, you have
Unfortunately.
a book. Yeah, you have a book that it is well known. Is the name is Practical Jetpack Compose. What people are going to find inside of it?
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, Practical Jetpack Compose is it's essentially 12 different projects, and then how to build those projects step by step. So we start out with like some really simple like a settings screen, then like an authentication form, and then we go through to like we make a stories creator with like drawing on it, resizing images with your fingers, drawing graphs, and covering like a range of topics like animations, accessibility, layouts, all the stuff that you'd essentially need to be able to build UI with Jetpack Compose. My idea was at the time, like I think there's a lot of content now, but at the time when I started making the book, there was like some blog posts, but there wasn't anything that was like really like telling you how to build like complete UIs. So I just thought of 12 projects. I was like that would cover like a bunch of different UI scenarios you would need in apps, and I built miniature apps for them, and then wrote about it. And the book tells you how to build those things. So it's quite a big book. I kind of wish it wasn't so big because it took me so long to make. It was over like 2 years. But yeah, I think I've had some really good feedback from it. I obviously really enjoy creating it. So yeah, that's it. So if you're looking to learn Jetpack Compose, or even if you already know some, it doesn't dive into too many advanced topics. But even if you know some Jetpack Compose, I think it would still be useful.
Indeed, it's practical.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah.
And there's other great books, because obviously there's other books like the Jetpack Compose Internals, which is very different from what I have. But like I remember, I still recommend that to people, because mine's more like mine has like how to build a project, and then there's the internal side of things. So I push people towards that way if they want to know more about that. So I think there's a good collection of things in the community that like offer different things, which is always good.
I have a question that I have noted here, that because I am I genuinely have interest of it. I have interest on it. That it is, what does the two mean of senior two at Buffer? Because I don't. What is this about?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, so the way I see it, and I think this is the way we do see it as well, Buffer is like more. So obviously we have senior one, and senior one is when I was senior one, it's more like you're still doing the stuff of a senior engineer. Obviously, like you're mentoring people, you're leading projects, coaching people, sharing knowledge of engineers, and so on. But when it gets to senior two stage, it's more like leading the, I guess, more advanced things, or like maybe leading technical visions, leading strategies, and like tying that into like product strategies and company strategies, and seeing it all a bit more across the board. I think it definitely is. When I was senior one, it felt not vague, but the more senior you get, it's not like you're working towards a checklist of like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, so I need to do this project. It's not like when you're prior to senior. So it definitely is a bit more, it's hard to put it exactly into like, oh, you need to do this to get to that level, but it's more about like the team-wide things, as opposed to, I want to say, like smaller scale. So the way I was seeing it when I went up was like, when I was a senior, I was working a lot with the Android team, and as I grew into senior two, it was more widespread across mobile, and also leaking out into other engineering teams. So it's just like a bit more of a wider impact, and being a bit more involved in like the biggest strategies and the team's technical vision. If that makes sense.
And you have also staff, principal, and this type of roles in the career path. I think it will be.
Yeah, we do have staff. So staff kind of continues from that, except it's more like on like the multiple team levels, but tying into like the company strategies and goals, as opposed to more like the team level kind of things. So it essentially gets wider, more impactful, and more like impacting multiple teams essentially. So we do have some staff engineers above that. And,
interesting. Well, a totally different topic, and it is a light one. Could you tell us a game changer, something that you have both until 100 euros or pounds during the last year?
Yep, I can. I'm just going to get it. Hopefully my laptop doesn't turn off. Doesn't go well. Cool. There you go. So this is really simple. It's plugged. But
what is that?
It's just a normal plug, but it's 100 watts, and you can charge 2 laptops on it. You can charge it.
Ah,
Yeah, it's 3
okay.
USB-Cs and a USB, and it's because my MacBook charger broke, and I didn't want to pay, whatever it is, £80 for an Apple charger. So I got this, and it's 100 watts, and it can charge. If you're co-working, you can plug 2 laptops in. It's great. I've told so many of my friends about this, and only one person has been excited by it. So I feel like it's a really boring thing, but for me, it's like, yeah, it's been great because I can charge my headphones at the same time. So yeah,
Nice one, nice one.
so yeah.
Okay. And do you remember any anecdote related to job, to programming, or whatever during your career?
Uh, that's a good one. So, uh, I'm sure that there's loads of stuff that's happened. I don't know, funny. I don't really have any funny stories. I'm not really that much of a funny person. But I've definitely broken some things. I guess we can talk about stuff I've broken. We had it was quite a while ago, but basically when we used to have 2 apps at Buffer, we only have one now, and they both interact with the same API. And I can't remember what happened, but for some reason I swapped the API keys around, or the client IDs. So the the requests still work because we were hitting the same API and they both had access, but the client IDs had been swapped around. So like we were creating posts from one app, but they were being attributed to the other app and vice versa. So when we needed to send notifications about those posts, they weren't being sent because the client ID was the wrong one. And we were getting reports, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, locally, the keys were the same, but it was on the CI. They'd been mixed up, and it took us a whole day to realize. And then it was like, oh, someone spotted one of the client IDs was wrong, and yeah, such a stupid mistake. And I don't even know how it happened. I think I've got a new machine or something, and I must have accidentally pushed something. But that was back in like 2016, so I can't remember the full story, but it was a lot of headaches. And it's just one of those things where you're like, that's not even a like complicated thing. But yeah, probably something. Yeah, that's definitely something funny that's happened.
Very well, very well. Well, I have a practical question that it is, what would you say to someone looking to get a better job as a programmer?
That's a good one. Looking to get a better job. I'm used to the question where it's like, oh, I want to get into programming. What's you taking the spin on that? I think for me, it obviously depends where you're at, but for me, like if like we're hiring at the moment, and when we're hiring, it's like obviously we're heavy users of Jetpack Compose now, and we're staying on top of the latest things. And even like we're not using Kotlin multi-platform, but like I'm keeping it in mind of like, oh, that's an interesting thing that obviously they're keeping it up with things and exploring new technology. So I think looking to get a better job, it's one of those like niche things where it's like staying ahead of the trend, keeping up with the latest things, and making sure you're on top of things. And that's the thing with tech. Like it is like a never-ending climb. There's always new things coming out, and it's hard to keep on top of it. But I feel like especially in mobile development now, where like back in the day, I remember we'd have like Android developers who they had their niche. They were like the person who you go to for databases, or the person you go to for like videos and images. But now, like I feel like because Android's got I don't want to say easier, but it's got easier to build apps because a lot of the work Google's doing. So I feel like this is my view on it anyway. I feel like being a niche on something, it could be, I guess, quite isolating when it comes to job searches, because I think there's a lot of people out there that can do a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of competition now when it comes to job hunting. So I think you have to be on top of things and ahead of the curve a bit. And it's hard because I don't like being like, oh, you have to be studying all the time or working all the time. But I think there's ways you can incorporate that into the job you're at to allow you to learn more, like on your work time. Then definitely ways you can do that.
Well, apart from Practical Jetpack Compose, your book, do you recommend us another book?
Yes. I'm just going to get the name up because there's 2 and I keep getting the names mixed up. Cool. So it's a staff engineering book. It's called Staff Engineer Leadership Beyond the Management Track by Will Larson. For me, like especially if you're in a senior position and you're looking to grow as an engineer and go into higher roles, like that book was really good for me in helping me to understand exactly like what a staff engineer is, what it means, your responsibilities. And then in the book, there's also like a collection of interviews from staff engineers at different companies, so you can see like what the expectations are in different positions, different companies, and stuff like that. So I would definitely recommend that book if you're looking to go into like the kind of staff plus roles.
This can be an additional to the other question to get a better job also. Yeah, very interesting, very interesting. And do you recommend us training for programming? Because I am super generic today.
Any training?
Yeah.
I've never done training for code. Like I've given workshops and stuff for coding, but I've never taken workshops or training myself when it comes to code. So there's nothing directly I can recommend. I know there's some great people doing stuff, but I haven't done it, so I can't recommend. But I guess like for me, I think going back to what I was saying earlier, like with coding, I feel like you get to a point where you're able to solve the problems, but there's other things like coding is just a small part of our job. There's always going to be other things we need to know. So like, I guess training can be similar to like we can say conferences, and there's a lot of conferences out there. Like there's one called Lead Dev, which I've been to a few times. I've done that online courses as well. So I think that's kind of training, because it's like training you in leadership areas and communication. So I would recommend stuff like that, because I think as well, like especially if you're an individual contributor, you're doing a lot of code, you're spending a lot of day coding, and especially being remote where you are a bit more separated from that human interaction. I think investing some time into those more like core skills and those communication skills is really important. So any training around that I would highly recommend. Yeah, and then also like do some training, something fun, something you haven't done before, or something you enjoy. Like I think it's good to do other stuff that's not directly related to our day-to-day.
Okay, I have one last question before the quick ones. The quick ones are 10 super quick questions, but before starting with that, can you suggest someone to be here in a future episode?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I don't know if you've had him before, but John O'Reilly would be my recommendation.
Okay.
Just because, yeah, I see him everywhere now in a good way, especially like around the Kotlin multi-platform topic, and whenever I'm looking for how to do something, his stuff's there, and I'm sure he has a lot of interesting stuff to share. So yeah, I would definitely watch an episode from him.
Perfect. I will communicate with him. Okay,
Sure.
and now the quick question. Well, for people that are listening to us the Spotify or are watching us on YouTube, the quick questions are, I am going to ask you 10 questions super fast, one after the other in a row, and it can be answered with a yes or no, with a word, with a phrase, or whatever you want, but I am going to go fast. That's and after there is no right or wrong answers, and after that we'll complete the interview. Okay, are you prepared?
I think so. Yeah,
I think so. Okay. Let's start with the quick questions to Joe Birch. First programming language you learned?
Visual Basic.
Favorite IDE?
Android Studio.
What's your favorite library for Android?
Revenue Cap.
Dark mode or light mode?
Dark mode.
Okay, definitely. Favorite programming language?
Kotlin.
One word to describe Kotlin?
Chef's kiss.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee. Okay. Tab or spaces?
Tabs.
Favorite movie?
Star Wars.
Very well. Most exciting tech trend right now?
Kotlin multi-platform.
And finally, I think I did one additional one, but well, this is the final one, and this is very, very complicated to answer. I don't know if it tell you XML or Jetpack Compose.
Oh. I guess go Jetpack Compose. That's a hard one.
Okay, perfect. 11 of 11. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, we have arrived to the final of this interview. I enjoyed a lot. I learned a lot, and I expect that people that has arrived here has learned a lot as well. Thank you so much. I am super grateful. Before leaving, where people can find you on web, social network.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, etc. It's all hi there, Joe. So that's my username and everything. So yeah, feel free to say hi.
Very well, very well. So thank you so much, Joe, and see you soon.
Yeah,
Big
thanks
hug.
for having me. It's been great to chat. Thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye bye.